Hello and welcome to Spectrum News at 4. I am Janice Cobham, coming to you live from the beautiful hills of Ibiakuran. Let's take a look at the headlines. Federal government inaugurates NDDC governing board. Reps warns EFCC against mother jailed for selling body parts. We will bring you details of these stories and more in a moment. At the governing board of the Niger Delta Development Commission (NDDC). The agency had been without a board for nearly 4 years. It would be recalled that the Senate on December 20, 2022 confirmed the nomination of the chairman and board members of the commission after President Muhammadu Buhari's sentry to the government of the Federation, Boss Mustafa, urged the members of the board to be above board, adding that they should work towards policies that would contribute to the coordinated development of the Niger Delta. Also, hope to the people of the region. In another development, the federal government has said it will stop the payment of fuel subsidies by the end of June 2023. The Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Zainab Ahmed, disclosed this during the public presentation of the 2023 federal government budgets. Zainab disclosed that in the 2023 fiscal period, 6 months of this year. This, she said, is in line with the 18 months extension announced in the early 2022. Meanwhile, the Nigerian Financial Intelligence Unit (NFIU) has affirmed preparations to announce new guidelines on cash withdrawals from all government accounts by January 5, 2023. The Director and Chief Executive Officer of NFIU, Modibo Tuku, made this revelation in Abuja. Tuku said Section 1 of the Money Laundering Prohibition Act has been. Reports say most cash withdrawals from government accounts, including payments for Code, are often more than the cash withdrawal limits provided by the Money Laundering Act, a situation that exposes innocent public servants to be liable for imprisonment. He added that the NFIU is developing an advisory to the Secretary, Auxiliary and Naira accounts ahead of the commencement of the policy, which has become compulsory by law. On legislative matters now, the House of Representatives Ad Hoc Committee on Assessment and Status of all recovered loot, movable and immovable assets from 2002, to 2020 by agencies of the federal government of Nigeria for effective, efficient management and utilization has urged the economic and the committee's chairman Adejoro Adogun in a statement said his panel had earlier recommended speedy disposal of recovered loot, especially fixed assets, noting that there is the possibility of looters recovering the forfeited assets by proxy. Recall that the EFCC on December 6, 2022 commenced the inspection and auction after it listed for auction 144 luxury houses and lands seized from convicted politicians, public servants, business moguls and internet fraudsters as proceeds of their corrupt practices ranging. Meanwhile, the Minister of Labour and Employment, Chris Ngige, has said he will not work for the emergence of any of the presidential candidates in the February elections. Ngige, who is a member of the All for Any or against any of them. The minister stated this today in his country home in Alo while speaking to journalists. He urged Nigerians to rather look at the programs of the candidates and may win the elections. Ngige said he would not like to predict, insisting Nigerians should be allowed to choose who they want to be their president. We move to politics now, where the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) has said no fewer than data obtained from the state offices of the Independent National Electoral Commission revealed that 6.7 million PVCs were locked up in INEC safes across 17 states and the Federal Capital Territory. Recall that the INEC National Commissioner for Information and Voter Entry, the collection of the PVCs will be taken to the ward levels, after which collection would be moved to the local government areas. INEC had also announced that the collection window for PVCs, which had commenced on December 12, 2022, will end on January 2022. $7 million to service railway-related debts between 2016 and 2022. This is according to Nigeria's External Debt Service Payments Report. Between January and December 2016, railway debt servicing gulped $19.99 million, with the Nigeria Railway gulping $8.26 million. The total expenditure on servicing railway debt kept rising in 2018, taking a total of $63.92 million between January and December that year. The amount spent on servicing railway debt kept rising has been noted to keep rising since the following year. Meanwhile, the Lagos Chambers of Commerce and Industry (LCCI) has called on the federal government to sustain its interventions in critical sectors of the economy to prevent the owner made the call in a statement while projecting the nation's economic outlook for 2023, adding that there is a need for sound monitoring and evaluation of the budget allocations. Almona stated that the federal government needs to sustain its targeted interventions in selected critical sectors like agriculture. He also noted that the government must block revenue leakages, reduce costs and empower the private sector to create jobs and generate more revenue for the government. Reviewing monetary policy developments in 2022, Almona noted that the Central Bank of Nigeria (CBN) has deployed a tightening monetary policy to stabilize prices. Criminal justice system and standardized investigation processes in the Nigeria Police Force has ordered a streamlining of all police investigative processes. The move, according to the IGP, is to prevent duplication of investigation through indiscriminate petitions and transfer of cases initiated by individuals and groups who had been indicated in initial investigation. The force spokesperson, Olumuyiwa Adejobi, who revealed this in a statement, said the IGP gave the directive while reviewing and dealing with files and cases in response to complaints about the discriminate transfer of cases from zonal and state commands and other investigative units of the Nigerian Police Force (NPF) by operatives of the Force Criminal Investigations Department. Force intelligence are the promoting of indicted parties. And back here, Governor Domi Manuel has rededicated Akwa Ibom people and the state to God. He did this while leading the state in a solemn assembly session during the annual Thanksgiving service. Avenue, Uyo, Governor Emmanuel identified peace as God's greatest blessing to the state during his tenure as governor. This, he stressed, has been fundamental to all the other achievements of his administration. And while expounding on his assertion that the greatest thing God has done for the state, for the state to appreciate God for what he has done so he can do more in enabling the people in moving forward.
We have enjoyed peace, peace that passes human understanding. And through peace, God has brought development. We cannot fail but thank God. Everything we've done, from road infrastructure to the industries that have come to be established here, to the investment in human capacity development, to everything we've done, healthcare, education, all, we give glory unto God Almighty. Our story, only God had helped us this far. We use this solemn assembly. Our prayer is that God Almighty, who raised once a rural state like ours with dusty roads to a glittering state today that is being celebrated all over the world, that Akwa Ibom will go forward.
And moving now to Africa, where a Tunisian former Environment Minister Mustafa Aroy has been sentenced to 3 years in prison for his role in the illegal import of 280 containers of waste from Italy. Aroy investigated how the waste had been imported. Reports say former ministry staffer was handed a 10-year jail term, while another suspect who is on the run was sentenced in absentia to 15 years. Meanwhile, the manager of the import firm is at large and a further 6 people were acquitted. We move to the foreign scene now. Through the streets of India's capital, senior Delhi police official Herendra Singh said the 20-year-old woman's scooter collided with the car in the early hours of January 1st before her body was pulled for up to 12 kilometers, adding that 5 people have been arrested in connection with it, not always strictly enforced. In 2021, 154,000 deaths were recorded on India's roads and 58,000 of hit-and-run incidents were reported nationwide. The Alton bill has entered a plea in the federal courts in Manhattan, New York. Bankman Fried's companies were exposed as being dangerously interlinked with conspiracy, wire fraud, and money laundering. The United States also charged him for election finance violations. Prosecutors allege he cheated investors and misused funds that belong to some companies, including an Alameda research project. Bankman prison age. The U.S. Supreme Judge has set a tentative date of October 2nd for the start of his trial. Meanwhile, a 46-year-old funeral home owner, Megan Hayes, based in Colorado, without the consent of the relatives of the dead, dissected 560 corpses and sold them. Hayes managed a funeral home, Sunset Mesa, and a body parts entity donor services from the same building in Montrose, Colorado. She was handed a 20-year jail term in federal prison, the maximum allowed under the law. Also, her 69-year-old mother, Shelley Couch, also pleaded guilty to. And still to come in the news, Mbappe absent as PSG players celebrate Messi after World Cup glory. To stay with us.
One truth not often told on Spotlight Africa. We paint the African picture the African way, laced with truth, detail, and the color of the African continent. Join Uyai Anyekan every Tuesday and Thursdays at 4:30 p.m. Spotlight Africa, telling the African story.
Many thanks for still being there. Now to the rest of our stars. We begin with our business news. The federal government has accredited assessment body. In a statement by IEMA, the accreditation issued by the Nigerian National Accreditation Service now authorizes the institute to award ISO certification to organizations that have met the conformity requirement for federal government and positioned to help encourage and certify Nigerian companies that have met the rigorous criteria required for certification. He stressed that to do good business now in Nigeria, a company must have an ISO certification, which is the standard. Meanwhile, the chairman of the Governing Council, Professor Ademola Ojo, has encouraged Nigerian companies to compete efficiently within and outside Nigeria. Meanwhile, investors in the Nigerian exchange have gained 2022. Despite the global economic risk, the Nigeria stock market's capitalization grew from 22.297 trillion naira as of January 4, 2022 to 27.915 trillion naira as of December 30, 2022. The Institute of International Finance border outflows of $38 billion between March and July 2022. Reports say in the period under review, the Nigeria Foreign Exchange All Share Index grew by 19.98% to 51,251.06 basis points amid volatility in stock markets across advanced countries. Lineages partly responsible for the current increase in COVID-19 cases in China, the United States and the United Kingdom have not yet been detected in the country. The NDDC disclosed this today in the update, which was made available to newsmen, showed that the Omicron sub-lineage responsible for the rise in cases in the US and UK is XBB.1.5, while BF.7 is responsible for the increased cases in China. According to him, country-targeted travel restrictions, including requests for PCR negative tests from incoming travelers, had little or no effect on preventing global and national circulation of Omicron since the emergence of the variant and its relatives with their shorter incubation period. And still in health, China had a dozen countries place fresh COVID curbs on visitors from the world's most populous nation. Recall that China has been witnessing a steep rise in infection after Beijing abruptly lifted years of hardline restrictions last month, with a follow-up announcement of an end to mandatory quarantines on arrival, in a move that prompted Chinese people to plan trips abroad. Reports say the United States, Canada, Japan and France are among the countries insisting all travelers from China provide negative COVID tests before arrival, as concerns grow over a surge in cases. Based today, the 35-year-old was welcomed by a guard of honor formed by his teammates. Messi has been on a short holiday after helping Argentina defeat France in the 2022 World Cup final. As he arrived at training, a guard of honor was set up for him before the session, before he was presented with a small trophy by Neymar and his other teammates at their training ground. However, I beg your pardon. And still in sports, Cristiano Ronaldo has been presented as the superstar's new signing of Saudi Arabian club Al Nassr. The former Manchester United, Real Madrid and Juventus forward will play Old Portugal international, who has won 5 Ballon d'Or awards for the best player in the world and 5 Champions League titles, will play outside of Europe for the first time in his storied career. And following a collision with a snowplow. In a statement, Samantha Mast, Reina's publicist, revealed that Reina is currently in intensive care after suffering traumatic chest damage and orthopedic injuries. Meanwhile, Jeremy's family have expressed their gratitude to the doctors and nurses looking after. And that's all we have for you at this time. Do well to follow us on all our social media platforms and ensure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, all of which you can find on our website. Expect the rest of our programs on Spectrum Television.